Right, I shall make a start before handing over to you, David. My name's Howard Locke. For those who know me, welcome for and thanks for joining this call. For those who don't know me, I am a business analyst. I'm in year 26 of my career as an analyst. I had quite a rich tapestry of a career as a BA, and I met David back in November 2024. And David started to introduce me to BVMF and started to show me some of the models. I said, "Wow, these are different. These are impressive. I've never seen anything like it in my career of 25 years back then." So I started to ask David, "Why? How come I've never seen this before?" And David said, "Well, I've been developing it for quite a few years now, and he's been using it in his own career as a senior BA, but never really sort of commercialized it properly." So I said, "Well, I think it's about time we commercialized it." So we started that journey, and that's where we are now. So Saru on the call joined our course in November, and I'm sure Saru might do a few words. So we've got a next one coming up in March. But yeah, so we're going to encourage you to come on these courses. So that's probably enough for me, David. So I'm going to, before I hand over to you, I'm just going to say to everybody, I think you've already got your mics on mute, which is great. If you can keep them on mute while David's doing the presentation, that would be fantastic. If you've got any questions, just put them in the chat, and we'll pick them up either during or probably after the presentation. But yeah, if you can just put any questions you've got in the chat. And David, I'd like to hand over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Howard. I'm just getting the slides working. I just clicked the wrong button. There you are. Are you getting the slides?
Yes,
Yeah, good.
perfect.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for coming. Just to mention, thanks to Howard. Pip Randall Nason is with us tonight, I'm pleased to say, who's been working with Max Fowl and now BVMF, helping us out with these prelims.
Hi
Um,
everyone.
Thank you, Pip.
Good
Good to see you.
evening.
Right, now, everybody, back in the 1980s, you will know that Sir James Dyson had a look at vacuum cleaners, didn't he? And he said, ever since the turn of the century, perhaps even the late 19th century, early 20th century, vacuum cleaner, uh, the physics of it, the efficiency was absolutely terrible. Half the suction just disappeared straight away, and he came up with a whole new way of doing it, the cyclonic approach with no bag. It was a kind of quantum leap, and his phrase became no loss of suction, and that was true. Now, what we've got here for you guys is no loss of value. His was a physical product, ours is a service, but there's a great similarity here. This is a different way of approaching projects, particularly the ones with IT. And as I'll show you in a moment, I'll show you some numbers, but IT projects, especially corporate IT projects, for the last 40, 50, even 60 years, yes, have been failing hugely. And about half the value just goes out the window before they even start, and then it gets worse. So, what can we do about this? Well, you're in the right place. Let's have a look. Now, if you become a business value maximization specialist, as you will if you come on our 2-day course that we're trying to give you a window into here, you will be using business value maximization framework. And if you get to grips with this, you will get comments like this gentleman that I had talking to me using the framework, using my approach. I'm just going to move a window. Excuse me. I don't know anybody who translates between business and IT as well as you. Thank you very much. And you got a small value than we thought possible. That's what we're after. And I was very pleased to get that comment. And it also kind of takes you along the journey that I used to develop business value maximization framework. Started off in the 1990s. I thought, no wonder there's a gap between business and IT, because it's not just one big theme. It's a lot of layers and aligned subtleties, and no one seems to fully understand it. So I started doing it, writing it down, and then it became multifaceted because of my broad background. And then it's about value, isn't it? bridging between business and IT, however well you do it, is a means to an end. What we want is value. We want return on investment. And we want these projects to start getting much more successful. A practitioner, a principal business analyst that I trained a few years ago, she said, BVMF is extreme common sense. I wished I'd known about it years ago. That's very nice. It's very true. And as we say at the bottom there, it's not magic, it's logic. In the same way that if you open up a vacuum cleaner and look at that little whirly cyclonic thing that Sir James invented, there it is. You cannot dispute that. It is working. No loss of suction. This is harder to explain, but it's the same thing. If you do it, it works. It's as simple as that. And I hope some of you will be experiencing that good feeling. So what is business value maximization framework? The fundamental principles for maximizing value, success, return on investment, business outcome from these projects. As well as a framework, it's a skill set. It's a way of working and thinking. It's relentlessly, you drive on value right from the start and you never stop. You just keep boosting it because on its own, it will just float away. It's what I call the value dissipation effect. So if you don't start with much value, it will just get worse. And if you start with a lot of value, it will tend to drop unless you keep boosting it up. The framework is a comprehensive set of tools, models, concepts. It's very comprehensive. These principles are detailed and comprehensive. They're macro, micro connective. So if you've got big picture vision, the detailed stuff that you do has got to align with the big picture. A lot of what I see going on in IT is what I call macro assumptive. Oh, if we get a computer system, everything's going to be much better. No, it isn't. Sorry. There are some fields where relentless focus on the means to the end might get you a decent result. And IT projects is not one of them. If you train like heck for the 400 meters, say, you might win the race. But this is not that simple. There are subtleties that need to be understood. So we've got no gaps to jeopardize the manifestation of optimal value. No loss of value. By the way, I'm not trying to pinch that from James Dyson because he's had enough people trying to pinch his stuff. I'm crediting him with an excellent phrase. So BVMF was developed specifically for value, success, and ROI from IT-enabled business processes, because that's where I was. However, you might be interested to note that much of it will work for IT projects in a non-business context, you know, like medicine, science, aviation, all that kind of thing. And a fair bit of it will actually work for non-IT projects. That's not particularly what we're looking at here today, but it's just worth noting that because I think that gives the framework a lot of credibility in terms of its capability to really grapple with value and push it through and make sure that lots of lovely value comes out the other end of the project. So if you were to come on our course, this is roughly what you would see. It's a 2-day weekend course. This will not surprise you. I'm not going to read this slide because Howard will kindly send you the slides after this presentation. But obviously we're going to look at the problem because you've got to understand the problem. The solutions that we're proposing, why do they work? How do the models and techniques differ? BVMF is very different to most other methods in projects and IT out there. I'm pleased to say. It's about time we had something different. And it's pretty extensive. This number might look quite big, and it is, but it's not the number. It's the quality of what it is. And if you come on the course, we don't bombard you with 100 models and 500 concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques, right? No, it's layered up, and you layer up your knowledge. And you only need a few of the basics to start making a really big difference, and you will feel it. And then you can come back and get more from us, and more and more. And there is always more with the way we work, because that's what we want to do. We want to get failure rate down. Here's more of what you will see. We'll talk about the role of the business value maximisation specialist, why we think this is has been a missing role. I thought it was a missing role back in the 1990s when I started putting this together. And I'm glad to say that I met Howard in 2024, as he said, and this was very mature by then, but I just hadn't commercially been able to roll it out. So we're having a lot of very interesting meetings and progress at the moment. How do you apply BVMF? Where do you get more information? Yeah. This is roughly what it looks like. Day one is the Saturday. Day two is the Sunday. None of that will surprise you. But yeah, we take you through a logical build-up so you gradually get this new world opened up to you. The level 2 two-day weekend course is mainly what we're talking about here, but we do have a one-day fundamentals, and we've got a 3-day course which is very similar to the 2-day, but there's an exam with it. So you get a certification, you just get an attendance certificate for the 2-day. Howard will tell you more about this. He's very good at structuring this all up. The intermediate and advanced courses are well in progress. That is not just a bit of blurb at the bottom of the slide. It's just that we want to feed this out to you in digestible, valuable chunks. And that's what we're doing. This is how it looks on the website. I won't go over this. The next course is March the 21st and 22nd in Peterborough. And we've got 2 more brewing this year. We did 3 last year, and I think we're doing 3 this year, aren't we, Howard? 3 and 3, yeah. But I think this number will increase in 2027. So what's the objective of the course when we've got you nice ladies and gentlemen there all ready to rock and roll? To raise whatever level of capability you currently have, because you might be quite okay at this already. Great, if you are. Generally, the industry is not very good at it, if I might proffer that opinion. But you might be good. Great, we'll be glad to have you, because some of our models and techniques and practices will supercharge you up. And then you can take this improved capability back to your team, you know, if you're employed, your company, if you're a consultant, your clients, and get some of those results like that first or the second slide I showed you, where the European purchasing manager said, wow, you know, this is different. And I said, well, I'm very pleased. It's about blooming time somebody started working this way. So with us all working together, using BVMF, with us supporting you, because we support you, and you and your colleagues, you will significantly, often dramatically raise the likelihood of your project succeeding. And when it does succeed, more often, you will get a lot more return on investment out of it. And that is the whole reason for doing it. The why you're doing it drives right from the start. And of course, we reduce risk simultaneously. So it's like double bubble or treble bubble, isn't it? What's not to like? Here's the stats, ladies and gentlemen. 75, some people say 80% of digital transformations, major projects fail to meet expectations, and have been doing so for pretty well the whole of the modern history of IT, which really came out of the Second World War, and it kind of started going slowly in the 50s and 60s, and then it built up speed. And the trajectory of the hardware capability has gone, it's incredible, isn't it? That's interesting. And yet, with all that exponential increase in hardware capability, still this statistic has not changed. Well, it is going to change, ladies and gentlemen, because me, Howard, Pitt, and the people we're working with and people who are coming on our courses are changing it. It's about blooming time. The industry pundits, not just me, go and listen to them, say the failure rate is actually getting worse. Yeah, and there's some good reasons for that. Well, hopefully it won't get much worse because we're going to try and stem that flow. But there's a lot of reasons why it will get worse, I would say, because people are not using BVMF. Not because I want to sell it to you. I don't sell. I'm just trying to make you aware that it exists and there is a different, better way to approach getting success and value. And it has been brewing for a long time. Since, yes, I started writing this down in the 1990s. I did. This might help you to understand a bit about what we're talking about. Two different views, but both valid. On the left, this jigsaw, you'll recognize all these little silos and, you know, disciplines going on. They don't join up very well, do they? But when BVMF is involved, they do join up. It's like a jigsaw with missing pieces, and a lot of the pieces that are there don't fit together. Boing, all of a sudden, you've got missing pieces of the jigsaw, and the pieces that were already there join up much better. Wow, we've got a whole jigsaw. We've got a nice, bright, clear picture now, instead of a rather muddy, you know, win some, lose too many. On the right, just a different way of looking at it. The left-hand part of this block of flats, as I call it, has not got value-focused foundations. So it's all rickety. Put BVMF, these fundamental principles for getting value into the foundations, and look at that. Look at that block of flats now. That's what we want. Yes, we do. Here's a little bit more about how the business value maximisation specialist works. This came out of me working in this multifaceted way in the 1990s and getting comments from that very nice European purchasing manager. There are two aspects to a BVMS, really, if you boil it down. One is you've got all these structures around which you could have all these people working together, not working in all these little silos and the PM doing this and the BA doing that, and then a few people shouting at each other and the business going, where is it all? And IT going, give us more time, and oh dear. The business value maximisation specialist coheres this all, settles it down, and I've done this lots of times. That's what they do. So they have the business value maximisation framework structures and models and techniques, but they are also a very multi-skilled, polyglot, polymathic being who has all these people working together. Though when you put those two aspects together, it becomes very powerful. And this is our diagram to give you an idea of how it looks. If everybody is responsible for value, which is the answer you normally get if you ask it at a seminar, you know what happens? Nobody does it. When everyone's got a key to the scout hut, you suddenly get a call at 12 o'clock at night. Oh, no one locked up. The BVMS is responsible for value. They drive. And you might say, well, what's the difference between a BVMS and a benefits manager? There's a lot of difference. A BVMS is 5 to 10 times more powerful. Not putting a benefits manager down. It's just not, it's a pale shadow of what a business value maximisation specialist does in several ways. A benefits manager would do well to come on our course. They would probably love the structures and techniques that we're providing for them. Great. A business analyst can come on our course. A project manager can. And we're talking to CIOs and C-suite people. Great. Just going to move something. And typically, when a company starts to adopt this, you will have consultancy and support from us So the training goes with the consultancy and the support. It all goes hand in hand. The extent of this framework, we've seen this number already, about 100 models. It's not the number, it's the fact that it is extensive, and there are lots of nice levels. So you come and get the basics under your belt, go back to your company or clients and find you're getting much, much better results. The good news is there's much, much more you can come back for. But don't worry, you can, I think I already said this earlier, you can use as much or as little as you want. You will always start by using the most significant parts of these structures. And so you can get good results very early, and then you build and you build and you build, and it keeps on going. As well as the 100 models and 500 concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques, we have lots of other stuff which I have been accruing over several decades. And I'm not going to read this out because you can read it yourself. Pretty comprehensive. Yeah, it blooming well is. And you will get a chance to chat through this with us on the course and see what's good, what's bad. And I suspect you will see some new angles that perhaps you hadn't seen before. We also address these because there's a lot of catch-22s in this, which a lot of the industry doesn't understand, which is why a lot of projects are doomed to failure right from the start. We'll go into this quite probably late on the Saturday morning. And we also have these artifacts, which you might want to know. We are structuring all this together. We have an index of BVMF in progress. We have a reasons for failure and success. And those reasons are mapped to the models and techniques. So we're not shooting into the wind. It's all connected up. We give you a glossary, and we've got an IT effectiveness capability program, which is not quite out there yet, but it's very close to being so. Howard and I have been working on this. So this will soon be out there, but this is slightly more the advanced stuff, if you like. So the models describe the problem or challenge. You get to understand what is the problem. And the problem I'm talking about is getting value and success coming through. That's what we're talking about, which obviously might be connected in a specific situation with problems in a business or organization. But our models help you to understand what stops most projects getting value. And then the concepts, principles, guidelines, and techniques come into play at the sort of micro level. These are things that you do to take the explanation of the problem from the models and say, right, what do we do to fix this? This is what you do to fix it. And we use a kind of stepping stone layered approach. These layers, to my way of thinking, have never been properly defined clearly, and you will see them, and I hope you enjoy them. It's a bit like, excuse me, I had a cold earlier in the week. It's nearly gone, but my throat's a little bit dry. Just have a drink. Imagine all this, all this business and IT gap business. Dear, oh dear, there is no gap with us and BVMF. If you've got two people who don't understand each other, say you've got a Japanese person trying to talk to a Danish person, usually the Japanese person does not learn Danish and the Danish person does not learn Japanese, or they could do that. However, what generally happens is they talk to each other in an intermediate language, which happens to be English, right? Now, if you think about that kind of concept, excuse me, we take that, but it's not just one intermediate language. There's a whole bunch of them, and they lay up against each other, a bit like stepping stones across a turbulent river, like layers of a layered wedding cake, for example, or even links in a chain. And if any of those links are weak, The chain doesn't work, right? And that chain has not been working to get this level of success we're talking about. And BVMF will really help to resolve that for you. So what's BVMF not? Well, it's not a project delivery method. It's not trying to be. It's trying to supply the missing parts of the jigsaw. It's not paint by numbers, i.e., the IT industry likes nice, simple, fill this in and it'll all work and it'll all be wonderful. No, it won't. This is grown-up thinking, ladies and gentlemen. There are nuances. It's complex. But what we do is we simplify the complexity as much as is humanly possible. We do not try to reinvent the wheel. If you are using Prince, if you're using Babok, if you're using Lean Six Sigma, blah, 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 you can keep losing them. Wow, what's not to like, you think? Well, I hope so. Some of the questions, these are the key questions that we answer on the course. You've got to know this. If you don't know it, your project's not going to succeed with lots of lovely value, and you're not going to be having senior business people saying, wow, this is great, are you? So you've got to know in the specific situation, what is value? How does it arise? Where's it come from? How much value is there to be had? On the course, we talk about this concept of a value cake. If you're baking a cake, you need to know what the ingredients are. You need to know how they work with each other. You need to know what temperature to bake it at, etc. We show you all that. Sorry for my coughing. It's nearly gone, but I'm doing a lot of talking here. I will be drawing to a close soon, and I'll be taking some questions, or we will be taking some questions that hopefully you guys have put into the chat. Yeah, this list is not exhaustive. I just wanted you to, this is the kind of nub of the questions you will see answered on the course that I don't think were ever very well answered by all these other methods that don't really connect up. I'm not saying they're terrible, but they're also not particularly fabulous. Here are our 15 core models. You will see some words that you recognize there. You will also see some terms and words you do not recognize. No, because this is the equivalent of Sir James's cyclonic vacuum cleaner. And when he walked in 1980, whatever it was, to Hoover and Electrolux to show them, they'd never seen anything like that either. So it's not surprising. These haven't been plucked out of thin air. They've been plucked out of experience, which I had in the 1970s, 80s, and early 90s that worked for me and helped projects that were not doing very well to do very well. These are the 15 core models. There is the same set of models. And here, what you might find more useful, which we've now added in, you can read these later when you get the slides from Howard. It tells you what each model actually does, and you might find that quite interesting reading. Just take the top one, for example, elucidates the expectation gap. Do you remember I said 75 to 80% of projects fail to meet expectations, to which you might say, ooh, well, is it, you know, is part of this failure, this 75 to 80% failure, expectations? Blooming right it is. The expectations of one set of people trying to run an organisation or business compared to what is feasible and reasonable to be getting out of IT suppliers and projects as well, because there's change management involved with this. I don't want to keep on wittering on about business and IT because it's not like that. That's part of the problem. You've got change, you've got a project, you've got business process. Excuse me. And when you come on the course, you will see how all these layers fit together to produce lots of lovely, powerful value. And there's more of the list. One important point, which I've touched on, BVMF does not try to replace Prince, Babot, blah de blah de blah de blah. No, it does not. That's not what it's trying to do. What it will do is it will make them much more powerful, much more effective. Pretty good, huh? I hope so. Here are some comments from two nice ladies who came on our November course. Yep. And you can read these for yourself. Exceptional framework. That was very good. Bilkis was very engaged and enjoyed the course. And I think she's been finding it very useful since she went back. She had a few beers, I think, at lunchtime. I don't know why she said David was amazing. That I'm not sure that was actually true, but very nice. BVMF is amazing, and the team of people we have working at BVMF is pretty good, and I'm really proud of those people. And we had Sharon there. We also have somebody on tonight, Saru, who was actually on that course. When I've stopped gabbling on, she might be kind enough to maybe say a few words or answer one or two of the questions, which would be fabulous because she was there. And I do remember Saru being very well engaged and often being ahead of me, I remember, which was rather good. So
I think, sorry, we probably need to put your comments on there as well, because obviously we've got your comments and feedback. So maybe we should turn that two into three.
Exactly. I was saying I feel left out in the comment section there.
I thought that as soon as I saw it, Saru, I thought, actually, Saru's not on there. We need to get her on there.
Yeah, let me just finish this off, guys. Global IT spend is at $6 trillion, ladies and gentlemen, and rising, as you well know, rising big time. That is 6 and 12 zeros dollars across this planet. That's £5.5 trillion. So if 3/4 of projects are failing to meet expectations, and that number might go up unless we get BVMF out there, you can do the numbers. Say we get that down by just 10%. What's that worth? It's a huge amount of money. It's huge. Everyone's talking about the economy, you know. Look at this.
And David, I believe that figure, that's an annualized figure. That's the 6 trillion is every year, isn't it?
Yeah. It's an annual figure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So welcome to our 75% fail to 75% succeed initiative. I actually kicked this off in September 2024 when I was speaking at DigiGov, and Pitt was kindly there supporting me, and we kicked this off. This is what we are doing because no one else is doing this, and we're going to do it. And by the way, if we can save some of this money that is going down the drain, what could that do for the economy? And we at BVMF Limited want to allocate a substantial amount of that money we're going to save to ethical causes. And Howard and I would most like to get help to get homeless people off the streets. And I think we could get quite a few homeless people off the streets by all us working together to stop these blooming projects not succeeding. Maybe we can do something the politicians can't. I think we can. This is a bit of promotion for the next course. Howard's got a discount going. He'll talk to you about that in a moment. This is a set of resources. Is there information on BVMF out there? There blooming well is, ladies and gentlemen. There's this lot for a start, and that's not all of it. There's 6 articles, there's a podcast, there's a YouTube channel, there's IIBA webinars. These links all work. Howard will send you the slides and you can sit there and have a good old look at this stuff and learn a lot more about BVMF. I'm going to end with this slide because this is an irony. I'd like to think it's an optimistic irony, But my experience over the last 25 to 30 years plus is in a lot of places I've been, value, well, I would say value is the most important aspect of a project. And I've been in a lot of places where, with all due respect, it was probably the least important. It was just not on people's radar. So you want to join with us on our 75% fail to succeed initiative? Come on. You don't have to go on a course, by the way, to talk to us. You can come on these prelims. You can phone up. You can talk to us. You can talk to Nicole, who's not here tonight because she's got young children. You can talk to me. You can talk to Howard if you can get us. Yes, you will. You can talk to Pip. There it is. Sorry, I coughed in a few places, but there you go. Any questions coming through? Let's come out of the share.
No, oh, before you do that, David, there's no questions at the moment. Just do you want to go back to oh, you've come back. Okay, so I was just going to say about the promotion side of things. So if you book,
I'll reshare, Howard.
Okay, perfect.
I was a bit quick on the button there. Sorry.
Give me was, yeah.
I'll go back.
Trigger happy.
Yeah, I was trigger happy there.
Yeah, just go to
all right. Can you see it?
If you just go back three slides, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, go back 3 slides.
I'll even do it properly. Just give me a sec. Oh, crikey, come on. Go for it. There we go. Back. Is that the one?
That is the one, yeah. Okay. So yeah, for anyone on the call, so what we're saying is if you book any of our 3 courses, so the next one we've got is in March in Peterborough, in Cambridgeshire. That is my hometown, selfishly, on the next one. Then the one after that is in June, in Leeds, and the one after that is in High Wycombe in Buckinghamshire. So what we're saying here is if you want to come on one of the courses, if you book any of those 3 and book and pay for it in February, then you get that really good discount, which is about 70% thereabouts. So you only pay £300 plus VAT. So that includes obviously the event for both days and lunch for both days. So we have a bit of fun along the journey as well. Saru will know that there's a bit of fun in there as well, so it's not too boring. So we educate, but also we have a little bit of fun along the journey. So, I mean, maybe Suru, have you got any words? Because you was in our November course in Stevenage in Hertfordshire. So, just a few words would be fantastic, Suru, if you got anything for us.
Sure, as a BA, I always have a few words, Howard.
Of course.
That's one of our traits. No, I would just encourage really people to go to attend the course, because what the course did for me personally, given my experience, I normally work in IT transformations, and trying to get the business and IT to speak the same language as a BA, sometimes it's almost near on impossible. But with BVMF, you've almost got a translator of value for IT and a translator of value for business. It's a way of getting them to speak the same language, and get them to start asking that question, well, how do we deliver value? How is this delivering value, and how is this delivering value? And I've always been thinking to myself, if we can get people to start thinking like that, maybe we can get business and IT to actually start thinking on the same platform eventually. But I think it's a really good course to go on to, not to mention that it's fun. Howard does sing, so does David. David does the dancing.
Don't tell them.
Oh, brilliant. Saru, that's some really kind words. And obviously it was great to have you on our course in November. And yeah, obviously, the sentiment of BVMF is all about getting optimal value and net benefit out of things. And we've all worked on projects. Some succeed, some fail. A lot of them do deliver, but they don't often deliver value. So they just it's usually to a date, to a budget, but there's often little business value, and it's usually just delivering technology. So BVMF allows you to sense check up front before projects start. Where's the value likely going to come from? You do use some of the models as well during projects to check and boost to make sure you're getting value. And again, a bit like benefits realization, it's a supercharged version of that, where at the end of it you can actually look at, did you get that net benefit? And if, as long as you continue to check it throughout the project durations, you will get a lot more net benefit. And as I said, when I first saw some of these models, as a BA back then of 25 years experience, I thought, wow, I've never seen anything like this. And that's why I thought, well, I want to be part of this journey with David to get BVMF out there. And that's the plan. So, I'd say if you can come on one of the courses, please do. Those big discounts won't be there forever. Obviously, as we, going through this commercialization, we're offering, really good incentives, but they won't be there forever. So if you do want to come on one of the courses this year, just reach out to me. We'll get you booked in, etc. But I mean, David, unusually there's no questions in the chat. If anybody has got a question, please put it in there now. There's nothing left from me. David, is any
I'll just add a
words?
couple of things. I'd like to say thank you to Sarah, because she summed it up really well. Sarah, and I'm glad that you felt that after the course. Is that the nub of it? Yeah. I mean, getting these people working to the same goal and understanding what they're trying to do together, that's brilliant. So thanks so much for saying that. Also, Howard, you talked about sense checking. Great. Yeah, absolutely. You sense check from the start to the finish continually. It's not like, oh, we'll do all this work and then we hope we're going to get some value at the end. No, you're sense checking value the whole way through. So that's another good comment. And I mean, it is hard in 35 minutes to tell you exactly what you're going to get on the course. I hope this has given you a flavour, but we look at value from lots of different angles, and there's lots of levels of value, types of value, and we give you lots of ways of comparing it and making sure that your new world will be much better than the old world, not just a bit better. We look at all these levels, and we've got metrics which we're continually refining, aren't we? And sort of what sort of level of value an average project gets and how you can bang that up. So I would like to say thank you ever so much to everybody. Sorry about my coughing. I've got a strepsil in my mouth now. I'm not chewing gum in an uncouth manner. So I'm going to just hand back to you just to close down, Howard. Thank you very much, everybody.
Perfect. Thank you, David. And yeah, so even though there's some big numbers in there, David mentioned about 100 models, 500 techniques, etc., you only need a few of them to actually get some value. So there's some real special ones in there you'll see on the course. Saru might have a favorite. I've definitely got my favorite model, but there's some in there you can use in multiple ways, and they're really, really powerful. So you don't have to know too many of them to get value. And look, at the end of the day, there's a lot of change happens in IT, business transformation, and if you can be that person, that value specialist that actually brings your BA hat, if you're a BA, your change manager's hat, or your PM hat, but overlay it with value focused as well. As companies are really more critical on their budget spends these days, they do want to get more. They don't want to just spend money. They want to get value out of things. So I believe that we'll have an army of value specialists across the land. David's heard me say that I even think there'll be a new C-suite role called a Chief Value Officer, and that will be a new C-suite role, as C-suite has been increasing over the years, Chief Data Officer, Chief Security Officer. We believe that there will be Chief Value Officers that work between project and program and PMO and the Chief Finance Officer to be the value gatekeepers of all these projects and things that are going on. So yeah, exciting times ahead. Come and join one of our courses and you will see what it's all about.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good evening. See you all soon. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.